Hi everyone. Okay, here's another one I'm getting ready to knock out. This is the military slash war movies in my movie collection. So first up is 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. Um, this was so good. This was so well done. And I'm not a big fan of Michael Bay's films because I think he is just too extra, just too much. But he did a really good job with this film. Here's the back. And it says in 2012, the threat level in Benghazi, Libya was deemed critical. When everything went wrong, 6 men had the courage to do what was right. Amazing. Amazing. Next up is Act of Valor. I love this steelbook. I love how it just looks war beaten and just like it's been through hell and back. And here's the back. Real heroes, real tactics, real action. This is no game. And if you're not familiar with this film, the reason they say that is because the soldiers in this movie, Navy SEALs, are actual Navy SEALs. They're real Navy SEALs. They had real Navy SEALs consulting on the film. They were present during filming because they wanted to make sure it was truly authentic. And if I do recall, in one of the documentaries I saw a long time ago on here, when it came out, all the SEALs said that they would not do it. Like, they almost couldn't get anybody to be in the movie because they were like, if you're not going to show it properly and do it right and show how things are actually done, then we don't want any part of it. And they agreed. And so people want to knock this movie sometimes. They're like, oh, the acting isn't the best, etc., etc. So what? I mean, I love the authenticity. What part of the fact that they're not actors don't you get? And the fact that you can't appreciate that what you're seeing is authentic and legit. They aren't actors who went through boot camp for 3 months. These are men who've done 3 tours, 5 tours, and more. Who's living the life for real, handling the equipment for real, doing the jobs for real. For me, that makes all the difference in the world, and I like this. Love this steelbook. Next up, Band of Brothers. I love this miniseries so much. I watched it when it first came on HBO, and they showed an episode a week, and I think it's like 10 episodes or something like that, or 12. Man, those were the longest weeks of my life. Man, the episodes, they seem like they went off so quickly. Oh, it is. Duh, 10 parts. Because you get so engrossed and invested, it just went by so fast, and you were mad it was over, and then you had to wait another week. And it's like, I was so glad when I was able to own this when they released it. I have the original steel case. I'm keeping that. I forgot to show it, but on the DVD because it has this beautiful pull-out, etc., etc. But I kept it still when I got the Blu-ray, and I've just always loved that shot. Such an amazing shot. So, an amazing series. Next up is Black Hawk Down. Love this movie. This movie is so intense. Like, you're on edge from beginning literally to the very end. Just a great, another based on a true story. And I remember watching all this happening on the news when it went down, and oh my goodness. And I will never forget when I saw them dragging one of the SEALs from the one of the Black Hawks that went down. And they really replicated it well in the movie, and that was very hard to see, but I love that film. First Blood. This is in here because for me this is a war film still. He's coming home from Vietnam and he's still at war. He's still in war in his head. He's still at war when he gets back because people will not let him come home and be home. And then he's in war with these cops. So it's a war film as far as I'm concerned. And it's the only one in the series that I have. I'm not particularly fond of the other ones. For me, this is a... Let me put it like this, and I don't mean this to sound like snobbish, but this is a film here. Like, First Blood is a film. It is so good. And Stallone was so good in it. And every time I see, no matter how many times I see it, and I've seen it a lot, every time he's, was he a colonel? Whoever, his colonel, when he's talking to him and he's crying, my gosh, Stallone just nailed that scene. Ugh, I love this. Love this movie. Another excellent film is Glory. Sorry, that's the ceiling light. Glory is just phenomenal. I mean, if you've seen it, you know why. Denzel Washington everybody was amazing. Everybody. Do you hear what I'm saying? The cast was phenomenal. And the ending, oh, it's just heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching. Oh my goodness. Hacksaw Ridge. Bravo. Just, I'm glad that I'm sorry, his name will not come to me right now, the real man who's in the film, who the film is based on. I'm glad that he finally gave permission to have his story told, because he never would allow anyone to talk about it. He's such a humble man, and he's like, I did what I did, and he didn't want all these special honors, and he didn't want people talking about him all the time, and he's just like, I did what I had to do, and I'm a Christian, and I did what I had to do. I had to save lives, and he finally allowed somebody to do it if they promised they would do it right, and he approved of this film. And I think it's just an amazing story that I'm glad he decided to share with the world. I think it's a great film. Next up is Hertz War, starring Bruce Willis and Colin Farrell. This is a good one. If you're not up on it, but I don't think I could do it justice right now because I'm like a little brain dead to do a summary. So I'll read you the back if you're not familiar with this, because this is another one of his movies I think is very underrated. You never hear anybody talk about it. But it says Bruce Willis stars as an imprisoned officer who refuses to give up his fight to defeat the Nazis in this absorbing World War II adventure. Why do they call it an adventure? It's not an adventure. It's a drama. But anyway, when Colonel McNamara, played by Bruce Willis, is stripped of his freedom in a German POW camp, he's determined to keep on fighting, even from behind enemy lines. Enlisting the help of a young lieutenant, played by Colin Farrell, in a brilliant plot against his captors, McNamara risks everything on a mission to free his men and change the outcome of the war. This is such a good movie. Such a good movie. If you're not up on it, check it out. Next up is The Longest Day. This is one of my favorite World War II films. I think it is one of the best World War II films ever done, and especially for the time it came out, in the time of classic Hollywood, when they did a lot of World War II movies. This is the first authentic movie. Like, oh my goodness, this movie, I love this movie. I watch it every year during Memorial Day and or Veterans Day. So yeah, I love this film. Next up is Platoon and Platoon. So this is the DVD, the 20th anniversary edition that was released, and this was before Blu-rays came out, and I love it because you get, hold on. So after you take the sleeve out, you have this, and it has this great, it's a 2-disc case, and it has this great insert, which it's written like a journal, which a lot of them had. It is so interesting. It's so well done. And yeah, so anyway, I don't need to go through all of that. But we have that, and then the Blu-ray. So, yeah. Next up is another one. Love this movie. I like it more and more every time I see it. Tears of the Sun, another underrated Bruce Willis movie. And it's so funny because now we all have gotten to the point where we think he's just phoning it in, like he's just pulling a check. But Tears of the Sun is, I think, one of his last great films. He is so good in this. I love this. And Cole Hauser is in this, who I like a lot. Next up is Letters from Iwo Jima. Um, I This is the second part of Clint Eastwood's, I like to call it a double feature. The first film that he released was Flags of Our Fathers. It's two films from two different points of view. And the first one, Flags of Our Fathers, was released first. And then, like the next year, Letters of Iwo Jima came out. So the first one, obviously, is from the point of view of the Americans. And this is the point of view of the war from the Japanese. And I'm sorry, I just did not like the first one at all. It bored me to tears. I barely remember it. I did not like it. It was not engaging to me. Loved this movie. Love this movie. This is the one I think Clint Eastwood nailed. It's phenomenal. So, yes. Next up is A Lone Survivor. I love this. It makes it look like it's bullet hole ridden, obviously. It's all in the back. Live to tell the story. I'm sure everybody is up on this. So, yeah, I always keep my my tickets because it's like a little scrapbook when I open my movies to watch it, and I can look back and see when it came out and when it was and where I was, and it reminds me of who I was with. It's just a fun memory. Next up is Unnatural Causes, starring John Ritter. It's called the Agent Orange Story, Unnatural Causes. And it stars John Ritter and Alfre Woodard. This is an excellent film. John Ritter was freaking amazing in this movie. Amazing. I don't know when this came out, if he was nominated for anything, but he should have been. And if you're not familiar with Agent Orange was a substance that they used during the Vietnam War that they sprayed over the jungles and everything to deforest the area so people couldn't get ambushed, so they could see the enemy, etc. But what they failed to tell the soldiers is that it was a dangerous chemical. And the chemical, which I know from personal experience from family members in my family, it caused a lot of problems that they're all still dealing with today. Cancer, problems with their bones, problems with their blood. Their children were born with mutations, and not mutations, with deformities. So, and it was about the fight with the government to acknowledge that they used the substance and didn't tell people that it was dangerous to use and to be exposed to, because they sprayed their own soldiers that were down there. You know what I'm saying? So it was their fight with the government to not only acknowledge it, but to get money for health care and care for the veterans. And he started this fight with Alfre Woodard, who was a government employee. Oh my goodness, this movie is excellent. Anyway, a little backstory for people who are not familiar with what Agent Orange is. Next up is Valkyrie. I love this film. Oh my goodness. Another based on a true story. When soldiers in the Hitler regime decide, he needs to be stopped, the war needs to end, and they plan to assassinate him. His own people plan to assassinate him, and this is the story of the plan and the carrying out of that plan. Excellent, excellent, excellent film. Last on the list, When Trumpets Fade. This was originally an HBO original film. It is so good. And what does it say? Heroes are born when bullets fly, when the earth explodes, when cannons roar. Oh my goodness, this movie is so good. It's about a soldier who is continuously trying to get out of the war and get back home. I mean, he is a trip. I mean, like, he tries and does everything he could possibly think of. He's like consistently insubordinate. He tries to piss off everybody. He does everything. He tries to get shot, stabbed. I think at some point he even stabbed himself or something. I don't remember. But then finally his superior was just like, we've had it with you. And they put him like on the front. It's not funny. I'm not laughing because it's funny, because this movie is straight drama, and it's a really good World War II movie. Um, but yeah, that's the story, and it's funny how when the tables turn and he realizes that it's not all about him, you know. So there you go, everybody. Those are my movies, my war movies, my military movies, and I just wanted to share those with you. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.